Our guest today is Kiran Bedi. I think that's more than enough to introduce her. Ms. Bedi, thank you very much
My pleasure. Thank you.
to join us for the interview.
Thank you.
And so we are going to start. You are the first IPS woman officer in India. And, with your background, I'm coming back right away to what is happening in India in the last few days. And this is the case of Nirbhaya. And what you think of that case, how the government has dealt with that, and what is the government reaction to the documentary which was made on her? What is your take on that?
Well, Nirbhay's case was absolutely tragic. To my mind, if the police systems had responded initially, whether it was traffic or whether it was a local police station, with whom they did interact before the gruesome rape happened, Nirbhay's case was preventable. The bus in which she was raped had made traffic violations in the past. It was continuing to make traffic violations while it was riding the roads. If the proper effective system had been placed, this bus could have been detected. Or it would not have driven with impunity the way it did. Similarly, they sought some local intervention of the police prior to that when they were harassed and robbed a little. The police station sent them away saying it's not their jurisdiction. Now, had those two interventions come at that time, this was a preventable crime. So systems didn't deliver. After that, after the rape, what goes to the full credit of the Delhi police is it was cracked in no time. Cracked in just no time, in the sense it was very fast investigated, very well investigated, scientifically investigated, due to which there's been a very fast conviction, absolute conviction. And getting convictions in our courts is not easy. It was fast. Secondly, it was very convincing. On the third front, which you asked me, how the government of India has responded to the film called Daughter of India, India's Daughter. Well, that's a collective wisdom of the Indian Parliament. They thought, I do not know how many saw the film, but I believe they didn't. Without seeing the film and resting their impression on the interview given by a rapist, and the content of his thing has probably alarmed them, and that's in their wisdom, they banned it. I personally have seen the film. I've personally seen the entire film. And I have responded to it as a police officer. To my mind, it's an opportunity lost. That's the way I look at it. So I'm not questioning the decision of the government or of the parliament. But as a police officer who believes in the power of prevention, I believe it is an opportunity to use that portion of that film to show it to the people as a whole, saying, are you them? Are you these Mukeshas? How many of you are these kinds of Mukeshas who will continue to think women are second-rate citizens and that they don't have any personal rights? They have no right to their space, they have no right to their time, and that they must surrender if a man so demands. In this case, it's rape.
So, as a police officer, what you think right now in India is the status of women, how it can be changed, what the government should do?
Women's status in India is long way to go yet. People like me are millions, but people not like me are more millions. So if you judge India by me or my kind, well, you'll see India progressing, and we are millions. The top of the government services, top of the bureaucracy, in information technology, medical, engineering, armed forces, flying high, in the Navy, business entrepreneurs, they're millions. But probably we may be 10% or 8%. But you've got 90% who are waiting for more and more opportunities. So for that, I would say that it's still a long way to go.
Now, other question is that you were the first IPS, the woman IPS in India, and you were a very apolitical person throughout your career. And what made you join BJP and politics?
It was a situation. It was a situation which so warranted. And I thought it was my absolute national duty to put myself in that position and give it all I can. There was a situation where the government had to be won. The reason being that Delhi is the capital of the city. And capital of the city makes all kinds of good or bad news. The entire media is settled there. So if you have a party which is in opposition of the government of India right under its nose, it will oppose for the sake of opposition. And therefore, it will continue to hold back the kind of speed with which the central government wants to take and is in a position to take today under the leadership of Mr. Narendra Modi. So it was trying to offer to the city the best we could, the best we can. And I think that was a situation which I personally think demanded whatever I did. We may not have succeeded, but I can no more regret.
Now, before the election, you were very involved also with Anna Hazare movement, and you worked also very closely with Kejriwal. Do you think, in retrospect, that it would have been better if you had joined Kejriwal than BJP?
No. I had no politics in my mind till I got the offer to take the plunge.
So you got the offer from BJP, or you approached BJP?
No. I didn't approach.
Okay.
I can't approach. I was not political in my head.
Okay.
I can't approach to say, give me straight away chief minister's candidate.
Sure.
It has to be a very careful decision by the BJP.
Sure.
So naturally, the initiative did come from the Bharatiya Janata Party.
And what is next for you?
I don't know tomorrow. I only know today.
But
Did I know yesterday? Did I know a month ago? I didn't.
Sure.
So
You are still a member of BJP.
that's right. I still continue to be a member of the BJP.
Now, I want to know about Kiran Bedi as a person. So, if we can talk about 5 minutes more about who you are, what your strengths are, is that okay? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm all over on the Google. So if they don't need to see your television program. They can go to Google, all over on the YouTubes, hundreds of interviews mounted. But I'm a former tennis player, been a national and Asian tennis champion. Did a law degree, did my master's in political science, then went on to do a PhD from IIT Delhi, did a postdoctoral in Nehru Fellowship. I'm an author of more than 5 books. And I've done television programs. I'm a person who loves to, and I have 2 NGOs. I have 2 non-profit organizations which reach out to thousands of beneficiaries every single day. So my every moment is for a reason.
Okay. Then I have some questions for you then. What do you think is your real strength is?
Very positive attitude. Never said I.
Who inspires you?
Oh, it's been an
What
attitude.
inspires you?
My attitude, my upbringing. My inspiration is actually my foundation. I came from very visionary parents.
And what about your weakness? Something which makes you scratch your head. Oh, I cannot do that. Do you have any weakness?
Maybe I'm too trusting. If that's a weakness. It's also a strength. But I trust people before I don't trust.
What you will advise today to all those Indians who are outside India, say in the United States, and they're reading all the news, what is happening in India, in terms of women, poverty, and corruption, and all this stuff. What we from the United States can do for India?
First of all non-resident Indians who are Indian passport holders must unite to take voting rights. You must vote. So you people are into groups. You're into faith groups. You're into state groups. But when it comes to non-resident Indians, must come together on one platform and ensure you get voting rights much before the next general election.
So you mean the voting rights here in the U.S.?
Yes. You should be able to vote for general elections and state elections as non-resident Indians. You must. Otherwise, and you alone will break a vote bank. You will be the developmental vote. Otherwise, we may have vote banks on freebies. I'm sure non-resident Indians won't want freebies. You won't want free water and electricity. So you need to be a vote bank of development.
Anything what the community, Indian community or non-resident Indians can do for India from here?
Plenty. Link yourself with every village you come from or every city you come from. Support education and skills development.
And now, if I ask you to tell me a couple of people who have really inspired you or inspire you, whether historical figure or political figure or family, who they will be?
Spiritual masters.
Example.
Swami Ramdev, Swami Rama, Swami Yogananda, Swami Vivekananda. I read a lot of spiritual masters and they inspire me.
Are your favorite books that we're talking about?
All spiritual and management leadership books.
Can you name one? Upanishads, Mahabharata, Ramayana.
Autobiography of a Yogi, Living with Himalayan Masters. Well, I'm a literature student too. Ayn Rand was my favorite. So I have both streams going into, whether it's literature or whether it is spiritual. But if I were to pick a book, I'll not pick up fiction. I'll pick up a spiritual book.
Now, when I ask you to go back to, childhood as a child growing, how you do look at your journey of life from your childhood to now? What do you think? Did you think that's what you become when you were a child?
Very intense. It's been very intense, very highly productive, high achieving, positive growth. It's not a day wasted.
So what has life taught you? Tell us a few lessons of life, your personal life.
Continue to prevent and prepare. Continue to prevent what you can. Prepare the right way. Preparation is prevention.
And Mrs. Bedi, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.